Charles Adele, and welcome to another edition of Pacific Policy Pulse. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Carol Spahn, the director of the U.S. Peace Corps. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me.
So last time you were in the region, and by the region, I mean the Indo-Pacific region, you were out in Fiji in August. Can you tell us a little bit about that trip?
Absolutely. Well, so I went to Fiji and Tonga, and it was incredibly impactful. I was there to sign a new MOU in Fiji with the government there around community economic development. So we were very excited to go out into some indigenous communities there and support those local efforts to create opportunity for themselves. I also went to Tonga, where we were swearing in a group of volunteers. It was right before the Pacific Island Leaders Forum there. So we were very honored that the Prime Minister made time as foreign leaders were arriving from around the world to come and join us. He's a very big supporter of the Peace Corps. And I was also there to really engage with our first group of climate resilience volunteers. So we learned about coral reef issues. We snorkeled and looked at those reefs. We planted mangroves. We walked through villages that had been impacted by climate disasters and spoke with women's groups. It was incredibly powerful. And, there's nothing like seeing the work in action and, meeting some of the climate champions who we're working with on the Blue Pacific Youth Initiative.
It's fascinating to hear that you did this all the way from the grassroots activist to the head of the country. That both have interests in exactly the mission that you're prosecuting. But instead of the mission, I'm hoping that you can scope for us a little bit. What are some of the biggest challenges that Peace Corps faces today?
Well, number one is recruiting. It has been a very challenging environment coming out of COVID, and we're still trying to get a pulse on exactly what that is and what's driving people's hesitance. Is it a lack of awareness? Is it hesitance to engage? Is it uncertainty about global events? Is it risk aversion? It's really tricky to unpack, and I think it's different for different people. We've just hired a firm to do a barrier analysis. We want to remove any barriers that we can remove, but also really work to inspire people. I think there's a sense of despair right now in the world, and I think that people want to engage in something that's bigger than themselves, and we have the opportunity for them to do that. We just, need to bring the awareness out there and, really invite them to serve in the Peace Corps. It's an amazing, amazing opportunity.
It is an amazing opportunity, and I want to draw a little inspiration from you, too, about your reading list. So can you tell us what it is that you're reading?
So I'm very excited about the book that I'm reading right now. It's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Have you read it?
I've not.
It's actually a negotiations book. Chris was a hostage negotiator with the FBI, and then he started working with business schools and others. What he's brought in from his hostage negotiations is an understanding of psychology and that people are irrational, emotional beings, and some ways of asking open-ended questions that gets to the root of what people are wanting, which in many, many cases is to be seen and heard. And when you bring that into a negotiation, you break through a lot of the walls that people put up. And so it's very, very interesting, and I think is impactful in every area of life, not just in hostage negotiations or business negotiations. It's really about how we relate to each other.
That's fascinating. I added to my reading list. Thank you. But thanks for joining us not only on this episode of Pacific Policy Pulse, but also for your keynote address. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. So happy to be here, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.